The first warning. The stars above the Empire fleet glowed cold and silent, 1,000 suns scattered across the black. At the edge of a forgotten arm of the galaxy, the ships drifted in formation, engines humming with ancient confidence. For centuries, the Empire had expanded without pause. Every world bent, every species yielded. No one had ever told them no, and lived to repeat it. But here, at the boundary of a pale blue planet's sphere of claim, the unexpected happened. The commander stood at the forward deck, hands clasped behind his back. The scanners had detected something strange, an automated beacon anchored to a dark satellite. The satellite itself was crude by Imperial standards, no shimmering alloys or grand design. Yet the message it carried was impossible to ignore. "Attention," the machine voice declared in perfect translation. "This region is under human protection. The galaxy is now declared off-limits. Entry is forbidden." The bridge burst with laughter. Officers exchanged mocking glances, tapping their polished armor. "Humans," one sneered, "mere newcomers to the stars, barely crawling from their cradle. They believe they can deny us?" Another chuckled. "A single planet dares to lock a galaxy. Arrogance without measure." Even the commander allowed himself a smirk. His empire had shattered dynasties far older than this so-called Earth. He had commanded battles where star systems burned in hours. To be stopped by a warning from an infant race seemed absurd. Yet, as the laughter died, something lingered in the silence. The message repeated, unyielding. No threat, no plea, just calm, absolute certainty. Entry is forbidden. The commander frowned. It was not the words but the tone. The voice carried no fear, no hesitation. It spoke like one who had the power to enforce it. He shook off the thought. "Advance," he ordered. Engines roared to life. The fleet crossed the boundary. For a moment, nothing happened. Space lay quiet, only the shimmer of distant stars and the hum of their engines. Then the sensors began to flicker. Static rippled across displays. Communication between ships stuttered. A deep interference, subtle yet growing. "Signal distortion, Commander," reported the technician. "Source unknown. We are being watched." The commander narrowed his eyes. Watched? By who? No ships appeared, no stations, no weapons platforms. Yet the feeling pressed down on the crew, the sense of invisible eyes, countless and near. Suddenly the beacon's voice echoed again. But this time it was not from the satellite. It came through their own communication systems, overriding encrypted channels as if they were unlocked doors. "You were warned. Turn back." The bridge froze. "How did they?" the technician whispered, panic rising. Their codes were considered unbreakable, the most secure in the Empire. Yet humans had stepped inside without effort, speaking through their very lifelines. The commander clenched his jaw. "Continue forward," he growled, though his voice trembled. The fleet pressed deeper. Their scanners returned only shadows. No planets, no ships, nothing but the oppressive silence of a starfield that felt suddenly hostile. The laughter from before was gone. Now every officer felt the weight of the unseen. One officer whispered what none dared admit aloud. "Perhaps they can do what they claim." The commander silenced him with a glare. Yet the thought had already taken root. For the first time in centuries, the Empire was not sure. And far away, hidden among the stars, human eyes watched. Not one, not 10, but an entire network stretching through the void. They had prepared for this moment. The Empire believed it had found an easy conquest, but Earth had declared the galaxy off-limits for a reason. This was only the beginning. The silent response. The Empire's fleet pushed deeper into the sector, but unease spread like a shadow over every deck. The commander stood rigid on the bridge, refusing to let doubt show. He had led campaigns that toppled kingdoms, worlds that once screamed defiance before being silenced forever. Yet here, there was no scream, no battle cry, only silence that grew heavier with every passing moment. "Scanners?" he demanded, his voice sharp. The crewman swallowed hard. "Empty space, Commander. No planets, no stations, no vessels. Yet the distortion remains. Our sensors report. Echoes, ghost signatures, impossible to track." The commander's jaw tightened. Ghost signatures? Nonsense. Technology played tricks before, but this was different. The silence was alive, and his instincts screamed danger. Still, to retreat was unthinkable. To question Earth's claim was why he had been sent. "Continue advance," he ordered. The ship slid forward, massive engines humming like thunder in the void. They were weapons of Empire, unstoppable, each hull armed with enough firepower to erase continents. Nothing had stood against them before. Nothing would stand now. But then, a flicker, one of the destroyers, second from the left flank, simply vanished. No explosion, no wreckage, not even a scream across comms. It was there, then it was not, as if it had been erased from existence. Gasps filled the bridge. Technicians scrambled, searching for debris, signals, anything. "Lost contact, Commander. The vessel is gone. No trace." The commander's voice trembled for the first time. "How?" The technician shook his head. "Not destroyed, sir. Removed, erased from space itself." The bridge fell silent. Every officer knew what that meant. Weapons had not fired. Shields had not clashed. This was something else, something beyond their understanding. Then the voice returned. Calm, steady, unshaken. "You were warned. Leave now." It echoed through every system, no matter how shielded. Every screen, every comm, every speaker carried the same chilling message. The words felt less like a warning now, and more like a sentence waiting to fall. Fear tightened its grip. Officers whispered of human powers they had dismissed as rumor, tales of experiments, of weapons built not for war, but for absolute denial, a fortress planet that had refused to bow. Instead of spreading outward, Earth had drawn the galaxy inward, caging it with unseen hands. The commander slammed a fist against the railing. His pride burned hotter than his fear. "They dare humiliate us. A single world mocks the Empire." But as he spoke, another ship vanished. This time a cruiser, gone in silence. Its space left as empty as the void itself. The officers froze, eyes wide, hands shaking. The Empire's pride, its steel and fire, was being plucked away like toys. The commander's voice cracked. "Scan for weapons. Trace the attack." "Nothing, Commander. No beams, no energy signatures, no impact," the technician stammered. "They strike from nowhere. They strike without being seen." The silence thickened. No one laughed now. No one mocked. Even the commander's defiance began to waver. He had led fleets against enemies with armies of millions, but those enemies fought with fire, with fury, with desperation. He could understand them. He could crush them. But this invisible force that erased warships without a sound, this was something no war had prepared him for. "Commander," another officer whispered, "perhaps we should withdraw, regroup, and—" "Silence!" the commander barked, though his voice lacked its usual iron. "We do not retreat before primitives." Yet, in his heart, he knew. Humans were no longer primitives. They were something else, something the Empire had not expected. Then, for the first time, a human transmission came, not through hijacked systems, but as a direct signal to the flagship. It was a single line of text glowing across their main screen. "Earth has spoken. Leave or be erased." The words hung like a blade. The commander stared, his throat dry. In all his years, he had never seen a warning so absolute. He could almost feel unseen eyes watching him, unseen hands ready to strike again. Behind him, the crew shifted uneasily. Some whispered prayers, others clenched their fists, trying to hold on to courage that was quickly slipping. The Empire had never been denied, never been humiliated. But now, before Earth, they were not warriors. They were prey. The commander made his choice. His pride refused to bend. "Forward," he whispered, his voice breaking. "We will not turn back." The engines roared once more, but in that roar was no confidence, only desperation. They were stepping deeper into the trap, and far beyond their sight, hidden among the stars, Earth prepared its next move. The silent response was over. The real demonstration was about to begin. The human edge. The fleet moved forward, but every officer felt the weight of the void pressing closer. The commander forced his breathing steady. His pride demanded control, but his instincts screamed that they had stepped into a cage. The silence was broken by the hum of weapons charging. The Empire's ships prepared their full firepower. If these humans hid behind tricks, then raw destruction would end it. "Prepare main batteries," the commander ordered. "Target the sector ahead. Wipe it clean." "Yes, Commander," came the reply. The fleet's weapons powered, great cannons glowing, launch bays opening, missiles locked in place. The Empire had crushed dozens of civilizations with this routine. One volley was enough to break resistance. The order was given, the weapons fired, and nothing happened. Alarms screamed across the bridge. The glowing cannons fizzled out, missiles jammed in their tubes, energy readings dropped to zero. Every weapon across the HFY fleet went dark in the same instant. The crew stared in disbelief. "Systems offline!" shouted the weapons officer. "All of them! Shut down!" The commander's blood turned cold. "What do you mean, offline?" The officer's hands shook. "They're dead, Commander. Power is there, but controls don't respond. It's as if someone else holds the switch." A voice slid across the comms, smooth, calm, undeniable. "You were warned." The words echoed in every ear, not shouted, but quiet, like a whisper meant only for them. The commander's chest tightened. His fleet, his pride, his power, reduced to silence with a single unseen command. He turned to his officers, desperate for explanation. "Jamming? Sabotage? Find me answers." But the technicians only shook their heads. They had no answers, only fear. One of the officers whispered, "This is not war. This is control." The commander silenced him, but the truth rang clear. The humans had not fired a single weapon, yet they had stripped the Empire's most powerful fleet bare. Then the screens on the bridge flickered. For a moment they were black. Then light returned. But it was not data, not maps, not battle readouts. It was an image, a human face, clear and sharp, staring directly into the commander's eyes. "You entered against warning," the figure said, calm, unshaken. "You brought steel and fire, believing Earth weak. Now you stand unarmed, powerless. You have seconds to choose, leave or vanish." The commander swallowed. His pride told him to rage, to spit in defiance, but his gut twisted with terror. That face spoke with the certainty of one holding a blade at his throat. The crew stared, waiting for his decision. Their eyes no longer carried arrogance, only fear. The Empire had always believed strength came from firepower, but this was power beyond weapons. The commander forced a laugh, brittle and hollow. "Tricks," he said, though no one believed it. "They are tricks. They cannot hold us forever." As if answering his denial, another ship in the fleet blinked out. Gone, silent, erased. The bridge fell into horrified silence. Every officer turned pale, every hand trembled. The humans were not bluffing. Their threat was real. "Commander," the first officer whispered, "if we continue, we will lose everything. This is not battle, it is execution." The commander's jaw locked. His pride battled with reality. Retreat meant disgrace, but staying meant annihilation. Before he could speak, the human voice returned, softer, yet sharper than any blade. "You measure power in fleets, in fire, in conquest," the voice said. "We measure power in control. The stars themselves bend when we choose. You do not fight Earth. You do not invade Earth. You obey Earth, or you are erased." The words sank into every soul on the ship. This was not arrogance. It was fact. The commander stood silent. His thoughts raced, For the first time in his career, he saw no path forward. His weapons were gone, his fleet was shrinking one by one, and his enemy stood unseen, untouchable. He whispered under his breath, "What have the humans become?" No one answered, no one could, and as the bridge fell into fearful silence, the commander understood the truth. Humanity had leapt far beyond the Empire's reach. They were no longer a planet clawing for survival. They were the force that would now decide who lived and who vanished. The human edge had been revealed, and the Empire stood at its mercy, the shattered fleet. The commander's lips pressed tight as he gave the order. His pride had carried them too far, but survival demanded action. Reverse course. Pull us back. Engines roared as the great fleet turned. Their dark hulls gleamed under distant starlight. Rows of warships that once brought terror to galaxies now moved not as predators, but as prey, fleeing a hunter. Relief flickered on the faces of the crew. Perhaps if they withdrew quickly, they could escape this unseen grip. Perhaps Earth would allow them to crawl back across the border, but the stars themselves betrayed them. As the fleet turned, space warped, navigation screens filled with static, coordinates scrambled, the exit vanished. No matter how the helmsman turned the controls, the fleet circled back to the same empty sector. "Impossible!" the navigator cried. "We cannot find a way out. The stars, they shift. The maps do not hold." The commander's heart sank. They were sealed, a cage not of steel, but of space itself. Then the silence broke again. Another ship vanished. This time a battleship, massive and ancient, older than Earth's rise to the stars. In a blink, it was gone, leaving no wreckage, no cry for help, only a hole where pride had once been. On the bridge, officers trembled, whispers spread. "It is sorcery. It is technology older than the Empire. It is judgment." The commander slammed his fist against the console. "Silence!" he roared, but his voice cracked. His officers no longer feared him. They feared the humans. Every few minutes, another ship disappeared, plucked from the formation like a candle snuffed in the dark. The fleet that once stretched across the horizon now shrank. Each disappearance tore more courage from the survivors. The technicians worked without pause, trying to trace the source of the attacks, searching for energy signatures, weapons fire, anything. But the screens remained empty. No ships, no stations, no detectable force. "They strike from nowhere," one whispered. "They strike as if they are everywhere at once." The commander finally asked the question he had avoided. "How many remain?" "Half, Commander," the first officer replied, his face pale. "And dropping." The commander staggered back. Half his strength erased without a single battle, half gone without even knowing how they had died. Then the human face returned to the screen. "Calm as ever. Your empire measured itself against others, and always won," the voice said. "But Earth does not measure against you. Earth measures against the stars themselves. You entered knowing the warning. Now you pay the price." The commander swallowed. His voice cracked as he tried to summon defiance. "We are the Empire. We cannot bow. We cannot—" Before he finished, 3 more ships vanished at once. Entire crews, entire histories, erased as if they had never existed. The bridge filled with whispers, desperate prayers, silent tears. These were warriors who had never known fear. Now they stood broken. Their fate held not in their weapons, not in their commander's orders, but in the quiet voice of a human unseen. The commander finally collapsed into his chair, his pride shattered, his voice a whisper. "Mercy, show mercy." The human face studied him for a moment. Its expression did not change. Calm, cold, unshaken. "Mercy is given to those who listen," the voice said. "You ignored the warning. You mocked the command. And so your fleet is shattered." The commander bowed his head. His officers no longer looked at him for orders. They only looked at the screen, waiting for the human's judgment. Across the galaxy, rumors already began to spread. Traitors carried whispers of the Empire's defeat. Soldiers told stories in hushed voices. Entire systems murmured of Earth, of a power that could seal borders, erase fleets, and silence empires. The message was clear. Humanity had risen. Humanity had drawn the line. The galaxy was no longer theirs to enter freely. Earth had declared it off-limits, and none could deny it. The final declaration, the Empire's fleet floated in silence, broken, trembling, a shadow of its former glory. Where once there had been rows upon rows of warships stretching across the void, now only fragments remained, half gone, erased without a sound. The Serviette. Vors huddled together, afraid to move, afraid even to breathe. On the bridge of the flagship, the commander sat slumped in his chair, his once proud eyes now hollow, his voice a whisper, "We are finished." Then the screen flickered, the human face vanished, replaced by a new image, a figure stepping forward, not a soldier in armor, not a general dressed in medals, but a single envoy, a human dressed simply, standing calm against the stars. Gasps filled the bridge. For the first time, the humans revealed themselves not as shadows or voices, but as people, flesh and blood. The envoy's eyes swept across them, steady, unwavering. The voice that followed carried no anger, no pride, only certainty. "You crossed into our border, knowing the warning," the envoy said. "You mocked Earth's command. You believed power was yours to claim forever. Today you have learned that age is over." The commander struggled to lift his head. His pride burned still, but it was a dying fire. "Why?" he rasped. "Why would a single world deny the galaxy itself?" The envoy's gaze sharpened. "Because Earth has seen the truth. Power unchecked becomes destruction. Empires rot and collapse. You ruled with fear, but fear ends today. Earth has declared the galaxy off limits, not for conquest, not for greed, but because no one else must suffer under chains like yours again." The words fell heavy on the crew. They had fought for glory, but the envoy spoke of something greater, something beyond conquest. The commander shook his head weakly. "You cannot hold forever. You are one world, one people. The galaxy is endless." The envoy raised a hand, and behind them the stars shifted. Screens lit up, showing glimpses of human power, fleets hidden in shadow, satellites cloaked in waiting, weapons that did not fire but bent space itself, technologies the Empire could not even name. "We are not one world," the envoy said. "We are one will. Humanity is united, humanity is awake, and humanity will not be chained." The envoy's eyes softened, though the voice remained firm. "Leave now. Take what remains of your fleet. Carry this message home. Tell your empire. Earth does not seek war, but Earth will never kneel. The stars are free. The galaxy is off limits to tyrants." For a long moment, no one moved. Then slowly, the commander bowed his head. His voice cracked. "We will leave." The envoy nodded once. Then, without gesture, without weapon, the path appeared. The distortion cleared. The maps returned to order. The borders stood open. The surviving ships wasted no time. Engines flared as they fled the cage of silence. Fleeing faster than pride would have once allowed, the commander watched as the envoy's image faded from the screen, leaving only the cold stars behind. His heart pounded with shame and relief. He had faced countless enemies, but never had he felt so utterly broken. As the fleet limped home, whispers grew. Officers who had once mocked Earth now spoke only in hushed tones. Soldiers who once laughed at the thought of humans now trembled at their name. The story spread, carried by frightened voices. The Empire had been denied, humanity had risen, Earth had drawn the line no one else dared, and across the galaxy, species long silent lifted their heads. For the first time, they believed there was hope. Hope not from empires, not from conquerors, but from the planet that once stood small and weak. Earth had declared the galaxy off limits, and the galaxy would never be the same.